What's going on, everybody? This is Drew here. I want to welcome you all to a brand new episode of Phoenix Down. This is Phoenix Down 128.0, and we are starting a new series. The long-awaited, we have been planning this for probably 2 years now, Greeedfall. Today I have with me Matt.
Hello, friends.
So yeah, it's been in the making for a while.
Yeah, I think this is the fourth time I've started it. And this one finally stuck.
Yeah. I originally was going to do this right before I got my new job last year, and, well, I had to travel a lot for that job. So I put it on the back burner until we could get back into it. So, yeah, I've actually been excited for this for a while. It was originally going to be part of our, spin-offs and sequels and stuff. And, because we played a Spiders game before. We had played Bound by Flame, which was part of our bad game year. And we all kind of came into agreement that Bound by Flame is not a bad game. I think we all thoroughly enjoyed it. Yep. It was kind of like a little bit of a knockoff Dragon Age kind of game. And Spiders has been doing a lot of that stuff lately. They released Greeedfall in 2019. Kind of had a cult following, and was so successful that they're actually making a direct sequel, which is, I think, the first time they've ever done a sequel.
I think I read that Technomancer is a sequel for Mars Warlogs.
I did not know that.
Which I want to play both of those now.
Technomancer had some cool ideas, I'll put it that way. Mars Warlogs was actually pretty interesting too. It's the €3 jank companies. We always get them mixed up because they all have animals in their name. Yeah, you got Frogwares, you've got Piranha Bytes, and you got Spiders. Out of all three, I think we can all safely say that Spiders is probably the premier game company out of all of them. Now, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed games from all of them. Frogwares was doing the Sherlock Holmes games, which were actually pretty decent. And then, Piranha Bytes. Risen holds a special place in my heart. Risen is not a great game by any means. It's very janky, but it has its place in my gaming repertoire. Particularly the second game, which was pirate themed, but you don't get that many pirate themed role playing games.
Yeah.
But Spiders, man, they've kind of been on a roll for me. Bound by Flame was really good. Technomancer's really good.
So far, Greeedfall is interesting.
Greeedfall, the one thing I will say about them is that they make interesting games.
Yeah.
They make games that you don't see these kind of games. They have a weird story, a weird background, a weird world. And yeah, I mean, as far as my history, this is the first time I've actually played this game. I've started the game probably 3 or 4 times like you have. But I've never actually sat down and played it. But everybody that I've talked to who has played through this game says this is actually a really good game. So, and I can agree with that. I definitely can. I feel like playing through the entirety of Bound by Flame, I think Greeedfall plays a lot better than it does than Bound by Flame.
Yeah.
There's still some jank in it though, but I feel like it's polished jank. It's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
They have a lot of charm.
It feels to me like, and I've said this before, I'd rather a company tries to go big and tries to do something interesting and new, even if it's a little janky, than just a retread.
Yeah.
I don't want to play the sixth game that all feel the same, right? Greeedfall and Bound by Flame, they feel like they're trying to punch above their weight, and I appreciate the what feels like a stretch. Like
Yeah.
this is this feels unique if nothing else. The setting, the world feels interesting. Both grounded and not grounded.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how the characters develop. But I think it's still probably too early in the game to really know much about whether the story's coherent or whether there's payoff or whether the characters matter or choices matter. So a lot of those things, I think it's a little bit of a wait and see. But so far, it's been interesting, kind of sinking into this game.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions I have is do the choices matter? Because I feel like so not only do you have choices in the game, but you also have like a reputation, I guess, mechanic where like there's different factions, but there's also your companions who like your companion approves of this or disapproves. This company doesn't like what you just did. There's all these different factors that go into it. Now I'm curious if those actually matter. Like if I've got a bad reputation with the tribal people, well, I have a tribal person in my party. Will she not want to do anything with me? Will she eventually leave my party? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It may be that deep. I don't know. I guess time will tell. But I guess to start off with, the setting of this game is almost late 1800s, kind of Victorian era.
Yeah. I was going to say Victorian was the word I was going to use. Not medieval, this isn't Knights and Castles, although it's not too far away from that.
Sure.
It's not really pirates, but we spend a lot of time on the water and talking about these organizations going back and forth. So there's a lot of water-themed things happening, if not outright piracy.
Right. Yeah, it's a very interesting.
It feels
time.
French. I mean, maybe because I put like a Van Dyke on my character, so.
Oh, okay.
It feels very French to me, and I don't know.
I'm playing a female character, so.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's French, Italian,
a little Renaissance.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts off with the painting too, which gives it a bit of a Renaissance feel.
Yeah, I would say kind of a Three Musketeers type. I think that might be the best way to describe it. Three Musketeers era. Because you got the big hats that everybody wears.
Seems to have their own fun hat.
Yeah, everybody has their own wild hat with a feather in it. They use a lot of sword play, so there's a lot of fencing. And guns, there's still guns there, so that's why I get the musketeers, because the musketeers also use pistols and flintlocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's also, you got to have magic, right? Of course, you have to have magic. And I don't know how this magic works. I don't know if this game actually explains it. But there is kind of like this. It's a magic. I don't know how else to describe it. I didn't spec my character for magic.
Interesting, because I went hard magic.
Oh, you did you?
Yep.
So I went. So you have your three archetypes, right? You have your warrior, all about physical strength. You have your agility-based character, kind of like your rogue, uses traps and firearms. And then you have your magic users, your mage class kind of thing. And I don't think you're actually bound to a certain class. You get to choose at the beginning, but I think you can kind of respec if you want to.
Yeah, I think so.
I went with more of like the agility rogue type, because I was like, firearms seem pretty useful in this game.
Yeah, I haven't done much with them yet, and I hear that's a nice complement to any other style.
Yeah.
So I I plan to start incorporating that into combat.
That is my major damage dealer.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. If I am sick of this guy, I will straight up Indiana Jones this and shoot the hell out of them. And when I do that, they usually fall over, and it takes off a lot of their armor. But now, granted, I have spec'd into firearms majorly. In fact, I have leveled up enough to where I'm starting to experiment with traps. Some of those are actually pretty helpful too. But I spec'd hard into firearms, so I'm doing a lot of damage with them. I'm to the point now where I'm allowed to use rifles now, and I'm kind of curious as to how good rifles are. But yeah. So
That's
it's
funny. Most of my money's gone towards buying the best rings I can to support offensive magic.
yeah. And I've spent a little bit of money on a decent pistol that does really good damage. So,
Glad we're taking two different approaches there.
Oh yeah. So I guess we talk about a little bit about the mechanics. So this is a action role playing game. I would say kind of like The Witcher 3 a little bit. You can dodge, you can parry if you do it, time it right, kind of thing. And then there's other abilities like pull out your gun and shoot somebody, and it's all kind of bound to like the D-pad for me. So I pull out a gun, pow, and then go back to sword fighting kind of thing. And one of the mechanics I mentioned earlier was armor. So you have characters who may have armor. You have armor as well, where you're still taking off health from an enemy, but if they still have armor, you're taking off less health. If you can break their armor, then you do a lot more damage to their health.
Yeah, one of the nice things about magic is I think it usually bypasses the armor.
Yes, that is one of the, I remember reading that, saying that magic bypasses armor. So, are you doing a lot of damage dealing magic?
Yeah, primarily offensive. The other half of my build, I guess, is the heavy one-handed. So I'm using a lot of like hammers, that type of thing, maces.
Like a battle mage.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm usually going in with magic first, and wherever it makes sense to switching out to the mace, so that I don't need to burn through all my potions.
Yeah.
But then because the magic gauge kind of refills automatically, but very slowly. So I use that to kind of test the waters and use the bulk of the fight with the mace, and then move back to magic whenever I can.
Is there like a mana potion that you can take that refills out instantly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of small, medium, and larges.
I have never used magic so far in this game. In fact, my mana bar has stayed full the entire time because I have no magic abilities. I'm kind of playing I guess the best way to describe it would be like a firearms trickster. So, like I could plant a trap. Like I've got enough points into traps now to where like I can use a trap, and if an enemy, if it blows up on an enemy, I can then harvest parts from the trap that was used.
Oh, nice.
So I can then rebuild more, kind of thing.
That's the type of build I usually like. I like to set up, if not something elaborate, something I can pull an enemy into. Right?
Yeah.
Like set up a turret. Like I like, if it was a different type of game, I'd like to set up a turret and then hide behind it, essentially.
Yeah. And I think the characters that I keep in my party kind of complement my playstyle a little bit. So, which we can get into in a little bit once we start talking about the characters that we find. So, the world Serene, or is it Serene or Serena? Serene.
Serene.
Yeah. So we start in the city of Serene, and I guess we should say we are playing a character, De Sardet, I
Yeah, I don't
guess.
know if it's Sardet or Sarday.
Sardet. And they, you can be male or female, and they pretty much call you by your last name.
Yeah.
But they are kind of like they're related to royalty. So we're not directly royalty, but our cousin is the son of the governor.
Governor, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that setup where you're not like you're kind of in between,
yeah,
and you can use that, I think, to go in many different directions, which I think is a nice starting point for this.
yeah.
Because
Your name carries weight in this world.
Yeah, but you're not seen as like a highfalutin nobility that's pampered or anything like that.
Right.
I feel like you kind of have the ability to relate to upper and lower class, and early on there's a lot of highs versus lows, and you kind of get to pick your side a little bit.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I've played it. Was I get my way because of my name, but I always choose the little guy.
Yeah, me too.
So it's yeah, I like that dynamic. Well, I'm from that family. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what can we do for you? I want you to do the exact opposite of what you're doing. What? Do you forget who my family is? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, a little bit Robin Hood.
Robin Hoodish. That's what I was about to say. It's a little bit like Robin Hood. But yeah, this world, man, is like you start in the city of Serene. You Sardet, whatever, is you can tell they've kind of been pampered, but they've also had their own ambitions. Like they trained under the guards, and our first companion that we get actually is Kurt, who is captain, one of the captains of the guards.
Yeah, I think so.
And we've been charged with going to the new island. They act like it's a new discovery, but when I get there, we have fully established cities that would have took years to build. Right?
Yeah, it seems like they must have sped through that because it does feel fresh. Like it feels like they've just arrived and they've got their foothold on the island.
Yeah. That island's what? Terrafidid? Something like that?
Terrafidid?
Terrafidid?
Yeah.
And they've settled there, thinking that, so, man, there's a lot going on here. There is a plague that has hit the populace.
Including your own mother.
Yes, the Malachor. Is that what's called? Malachor?
Yep.
And I guess it's hit us too. We've got that thing on our face. I'm not sure.
Is that Malachor? I thought that was a tie to like the natural land.
See, so you're talking about that, and that's part of the quest line that I did. So, when you go to the island, you run into some of the natives, and the natives actually confuse you for a native.
Yeah. Because they've got like branches growing out into their hair and stuff, so they're very much of the land magic.
Yes. And I'm not sure. I was originally thinking, oh, we're infected with this and we've got to find a cure. Because that's kind of what we were doing. Like the population was like, we need to discover this cure. Well, this Malachor hasn't made it to this island. Maybe there's something on this island that's keeping it away. you know. So we're going over there to try and discover that.
Which is, as far as an overarching mission goes, that makes sense, right?
Sure.
There's a plague. You're out to try and stop the plague. That's good. Good enough for me.
Yeah, kind of like Last Hope kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're charged with going there, along with our cousin Constantine, and Kurt is going to be coming along with us.
I think he's our bodyguard.
Yeah, it comes off that way. That he was supposed to be kind of like us and Constantine's bodyguard.
Yeah.
But we worked under him, trained under him through the guards. So, yeah, I think that's the case. I think they were like, send somebody with them, please, so they don't get killed, kind of thing.
Basically half babysitter.
Yeah. And he kind of plays off that a little bit. I like Kurt a lot.
Yeah.
He's probably my favorite companion. Just because of the things that he is. He's willing to break the rules too if it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Kind of like my character. He's like, this isn't right. We need to get to the bottom of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first probably couple of hours I played, I was just in Serene doing quests.
Yeah, because your whole, like, I like the way that, right, if you've got your overarching story mission of stop the plague, you've also, for this whole section, you've got a mission which is basically get everything done so you can get on the ship to go over to New Serene.
Yeah. The main mission is find Constantine.
Yep.
We don't know where he is. Everything else everything else is kind of side story. But it intertwines with the characters. So one of the characters is the captain of the ship that we're going to be on. He's asked us to help find his cabin boy. So there's a long quest line trying to find the cabin boy. Did you do that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you even need to do to leave Serene.
You don't. You don't. But I think it may influence another quest. Because I found the cabin boy. I did that quest first. And then when it came to another quest where I had to smuggle some contraband, but it wasn't contraband. It was supplies, I guess, for the guards.
Yeah.
But it wasn't on the registry, so he's like, the law says I can't do this. But I brought it to his attention, and he was like, I won't forget what you did. Help me find my cabin boy. So yeah. I'll get it on there. So I think maybe your choices do matter. Maybe doing a quest can help out with another one.
Yeah, it's interesting because now that you say that, yeah, that makes sense. And they're not. I guess that's fairly explicit. That, like, hey, because you did this thing, I'll allow you, or you've got a new avenue for getting it on the ship. You don't need to fight anybody. It seems like this game really sets up. You can pick the way you want to advance something.
Yeah.
Right. Like there was one part where I really wished that I had gone down the technical route so that I could make an explosive so I could get through a wall.
Right.
And I didn't. And then it turns out an hour later, I'm walking through a building and I find the other side of that wall. So I'm like, oh, I got here in the end anyway. I just took a different route to do it.
Right.
So I like that like the cabin boy piece is its own story, and it's an interesting enough side quest in and of itself, right? He didn't just run off. You find this whole, like, you learn more about the world and the way that the nobles basically give children over to the
sailors, I guess.
The sailors, yeah. I was going to say the Sea Empire, whatever that group is called. But, as a way to, like, secure preferential pricing or trade routes or something. And there's this weird system where they give away their children. And that's tells you something about the nobles. It's
Right.
an interesting dynamic in this world that sets up the relationship between the groups. It allows you to do the mission that you just talked about in a different way, and also, I didn't get very far down his kind of quest line, but I talked to Vasco, and he's like, "Well, I was one of those boys as well,
Yeah.
and I don't know my family. Would you help me find my family?"
Yeah.
And had I not done the cabin boy thing, it wouldn't have meant as much.
Right.
And so,
Would it have even come up? That's the
yeah,
better question.
would it have even come up? And if it did, would it have mattered? Like, but that's like four different reasons that I like the way that those quests are kind of intertwined with each other. And I think you're absolutely right when you said it. One of the things that is maybe really good about this game, but somewhat confusing about this game, is the way these kind of quests, side quests, and main quests all interweave with each other. That's really cool from maybe a storytelling perspective. The organizational side of my brain wants things to be more clear as to compartmentalize things better, but I really like that whole section of how these things interact with each other, and all of a sudden now I feel like I not only know Vasco, but I feel like I almost owe him something.
Right.
And that's I don't know. By the time I got on this ship, I was like, all right, I think I really like this game.
Yeah, I think, and it's something that me and you both have talked about before we started recording, is that this game is very open ended. It gives you like once you make it to the island, it gives you two objectives. All right, those objectives are clear across the island, and there's other stuff along the way that you can do. Like almost immediately, you get these like companion quests. Like Kurt wants us to find what happened to one of the trainees, I think, or something like that. I can't remember. It feels almost like, in comparison, like a Mass Effect, like loyalty mission is what it feels like. And you get those like from the start. Like as soon as you meet these people, they're like, "Hey, I need to talk to you about something."
Yeah.
And you can choose to do those now. You can choose to do them later. The thing is like some of these quests are big. Like I've always said, The Witcher 3 was so amazing because side quests in those games feel like main story quests in other games.
Yeah.
This kind of has that in a smaller scale. Like I thought this was probably going to be a main story that I had to do, but it was actually just a companion quest. I did the tribal quest, and it kind of just ended, and I feel like it's not done.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I wonder if I'll ever come to a point in my life where I don't compare companion quests back to Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, that was probably the creme de la creme.
Yeah, I mean, not only were they good characters, but it was also super clear that those missions mattered, which I think lent them a weight that some games, even if they do matter, it's not as clear. And, I think just that understanding of, I'm going to help this person right now, that's what I'm doing. This game, it does get a little bit scattered as to, am I progressing the story, or am I doing something meaningless, or am I building up a relationship with my side character? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. And I think that's just because of how open-ended it actually is.
Yeah.
Because, the thing we haven't talked about is, so at the beginning of this game, you were just, if you get into a fight with somebody, it is human beings. Before you leave for your journey to the island, you are introduced to basically the wildlife of this world. And
You mean not like the cats and dogs?
Yeah, like crazed beasts they look almost like nature gods, if
Yeah.
that's the best way to describe it. They look very. They look so. Here's the best. This is my inner nerd coming out. They look like characters from the green mana from Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
That's exactly what they look like. They
Yep.
look like nature beasts, sometimes made of wood-ish looking things. Trees came to life, but also very beastly, like some kind of bear or wolf.
Yeah. Sometimes
Very,
branches in the shape of a bear or something like that.
yeah, very strange looking characters. Mystic kind of characters.
Yeah, very much.
And that's kind of our first boss fight. And I'll be honest with you, I died at this boss fight probably 6 times.
Ooh.
I was like trying to, I guess because I had to get accustomed to how fights actually play out in this game. You really need to dodge. You can't just go in there button mashing.
Yep.
This is certainly a skill-based game. Now,
There's also a balance mechanic.
yeah, and
I
I
feel like once you
can't.
start to get knocked down, man, you can get knocked down easily.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. There's unbalanced, then there's knocked down, then there's dazed, I think, and I'm just like, I don't know what any of these things do. All I know is knocked down means I knocked that dude down, and I'm going to go in and start stabbing him.
Yeah.
So and, because you have a kick, like there's a whole button for just kicking, and it does no damage, but it puts them off balance. So I guess part of the the tactical aspect of it is knocking them down. There's also like an ultimate attack. I wouldn't say ultimate attack. There's like is it rage or adrenaline meter? I can't remember.
Yeah, I wanted to say it was rage, but that's something I've taken advantage of, certainly.
Yeah. So is your rage ability just like a hard slash?
Yeah, essentially it's just the simple attack, but charged up in a way.
Yeah.
So whether I'm using my mace or my magic, it's just that basic attack, but usually lunging from a distance and then doing extra damage.
Yeah,
So
mine's like a hard like crescent slash.
yeah,
So I don't know if there's other ones that I can do because you have a meter that's like 3 sections.
yeah.
And I think you can use up the whole 3 bars, but I don't know how to do that.
Oh, with like one massive attack.
I think I need to look into that.
One thing that I did early on, the first couple of hours, is I spent a lot of time dodging. I've switched that a lot more to the parrying. Because
I need to get that down because I'm still bad
feel like
at
the
it.
dodging, man, makes some of these fights take forever.
Yeah.
But when you parry and you can follow that up immediately with an attack, you can immediately go back on the offensive. And there was one I would call it maybe the second boss fight of the game, where the thing, I don't know if you fought it, but it like burrows under the ground,
No, I haven't ran into that yet.
and basically it'll keep coming at you, and you dodge out of the way, and it'll just keep coming at you, and it might come at you forever. I don't know. But if you can parry it when it hits you, it'll pop up out of the ground so you can get back to fighting it.
Gotcha.
So, that was another time I'm like, all right, parry seems to be more useful more often.
Right. So yeah.
But I do like that there's an evolution of the way I'm approaching combat. I mean, maybe you just call it learning how to do combat, but I feel like a lot of games like this can and sometimes do get by with very simple combat. I feel like there are enough interesting things going on here in combat that I will continue to learn and probably get new abilities and switch out weapons, and I'll be kind of fine-tuning probably the whole game. And so far, that seems like a good thing. continue
Okay.
to optimizing and tailoring it to the way you want to attack.
Yeah. I will. I try skill based stuff, and then when I say this has gone on too long, I pull out my gun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you do the other side missions in Serene?
I did. I did. I think I did all the side missions in
Yeah.
Serene.
So there was the one with the charlatan,
Yes.
and he's like selling that potion,
Yep. The snake oil.
snake oil. Yeah.
And I pissed off those people because I let him go. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, you guys were being mean to him.
I basically let everyone go because it turns out when people were telling me I had to go hunt down, in this case, the charlatan, or on the other one, it was the heretics, that was very much a oppressor labeling someone they didn't want a certain way so that the guards or me would help eradicate them and get rid of their opposition. And I'm like, I don't want to fulfill that role in this game.
No, the two factions. I don't know what those factions are, but the one was the scholars and the alchemists and stuff like that. I'm okay with them. I don't like some of their methods, but the religious fanatics,
The Taleme?
yeah, no, I am completely against them.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't want to hear it. I
It's
ran
pretty
into
intense, the first big guy that you meet when you arrive on the island. That just goes
yeah,
off the rails.
yeah. When they were like burning people at the stake, yeah, I ran into that guy, and that's kind of where I stopped. But I was like, yeah, I'm done with these people. That man will die eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, if anyone in this game needs to die, it's him. It's not the forest gods.
Well, the thing that got me was are you so there's a couple of character traits that you can kind of spec into.
Yeah.
So you man, there's a lot. So you got like a skill tree for like combat abilities, but then you have a skill tree for outside abilities like lock picking or charisma. Excuse me. And then there's the other one which is like, God, I can't even remember what it was. It was all like you won't be upgrading those that much.
Talents?
Yeah,
Is that the third
talents.
one?
I think essentially. So I've been putting pretty much everything into charisma.
Yeah, I had
I
been as well because I'm like, look, I want to be able to convince people of the way that I think things should be done.
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm glad the game at least tells me that there's a percentage, but I don't agree with that percentage. I've had something say you have a 75% chance to get this right, and I lost it twice, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
75% chance, and I lost it twice. I don't know. Like there was one where I was like, I had like a 90% chance, and I was like, if I lose this one, I screw charisma. So, but I did get that one. So I have been able. So the crazy guy, the crazy pilgrim dude, who started killing people, I was able to talk my way out of him.
Yeah.
And
I did as well, luckily. Although I think
yeah.
I had that 75% there too. I'm like, oh man, I don't know what happens if I fail this right now.
Right. And I was like, well, did I just straight up fight the guy? But I don't know. But I was able to talk my way out of that one. But yeah, I guess so. So to go back to a little bit of the story, we make it to the island, and we gain another companion. We gain the captain of the ship because he was just let go. And he's like, "Yep, I don't have a ship anymore. I have been fired. So I guess I'm coming along with you guys." And I have not used him since.
Vasco?
Yeah, Vasco.
Yeah, he's been in my. I actually want to switch back to Kurt, but I've had Vasco and Ciora, the next character in my party for most of this first session.
Yeah, Kurt has been my warrior guy, tank, and Ciora has been my healer because she uses magic.
Yeah, I probably need to switch Vasco out because what I want to figure out, and maybe it's Kurt, maybe it's Petrus. I want to figure out who's the most tanky, because if I'm going to be dancing around the edges, hurling magical projectiles, I want somebody keeping the enemies away.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, except shooting people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we gained Vasco. Well, he was in my party for a minute, and then I ran into my next companion. So Constantine has been basically put in charge of New Serene, which is the new city that they've established. He is...
So is he part of the same faction you are? And that's the merchants, the merchant congregation?
I think... I was a little muddied there as to, like, what are we? Are we in this faction?
I think we're part of the merchant congregation.
So he's there to basically start running that city.
Yeah.
And he is ill-advised, I feel. Like he's just all gung-ho and wanting to change things, but he's also very... He does come from the highfalutin.
Yeah.
You know, he wants to have the lavish... Yeah, he wants to have the lavish parties, and we're trying to be the voice of reason, like, well, maybe we should do this. He's like, that's a great idea. You go ahead and do that. And I'm like, okay, all right. So, when we go to meet with him at the capital, I don't know, it's like a manor or whatever, we actually run into our next companion, which is Ciora, who is a native to the island. And she's trying to get an audience with whoever's in charge. And so we're like, okay, well, I know the person, so won't you come with me? And basically she's asking for aid because her family is basically, or her tribe is getting ready to go to war with another faction. And I'm confused on these people because I was thinking it was us that they were about to go to war with, but our country has also been at war with another country. Am I correct in saying that?
If we're the merchant congregation, I think we are a relatively neutral party.
Okay.
And I think the island is beset by multiple countries or organizations. So the one that her clan is warring with is the Bridge Alliance.
Okay. And so, yeah, she's looking for aid.
And I don't think we inherently are against the Bridge Alliance, but I feel like we're setting ourselves up that that's the way we're going to go because we're probably going to defend the natives.
Right. So, yeah. I guess Constantine's like, this is perfect. You can go check this out and see if you can come to an agreement. Okay, well,
this is also another example. Like, it feels like it's her loyalty quest, but they're calling this a main mission.
Is it a main mission? Because I was going to ask that exact same question because I feel like, okay, well, I'll just go to the tribe, and I was like,
the
okay,
second main quest on the walkthroughs that I've seen, the Battle of Red Spears.
Okay. But like I said, it felt like a loyalty mission. So I was like, maybe, because, maybe her loyalty mission is finding her mother.
The follow-up, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it actually breaks down. But those two things are so tied together that you're really blurring that line. Like, there is a distinction between the two, I guess, but looking at it positively, it really pulls your companions into the main story in a way that they are, you can't just ignore them. You can't get through this and just say, I'm never going to worry about Ciora because you will have to see what happens in this battle of the Red Spears.
So yeah, that's the next thing I did. I went to the tribe, and they were like, "Yeah, where's Mom? She's gone. She's already started the battle. They're on their way to war right now." And it's like, "Oh crap." I get so there was an option here. Take the fast way or the long way.
Yeah.
Which did you do?
I followed Siora's recommendation to take the shortcut.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get her on my side.
Okay, yeah, that's what I did too. And she acknowledges, "Thanks for listening to me." So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it does matter. I don't know what happens if you go the long way.
Yeah. Either way, you're too late, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we get there, and it may just be like, "Oh, because of you, we took the long way, and now the battle already started." But maybe all roads lead to one, but it's just how it influences the character to you. So, yeah, we get there. The battle's already happened. There's a whole bunch of dead people laying everywhere. And we try to find the mother, the queen, essentially. And another option we get here is we find a wounded soldier of the other side, the Bridge Alliance, and she is wanting to kill the guy, and we can encourage her to continue or stop her. I chose to stop her.
Yeah, me too.
And he told us...
Although I wasn't 100% sure on that. I'm like, all right, if these people are besieging the land, she might be justified to go all holy justice on them and kill everyone in sight. But I was like, from a personal perspective, she will regret that, so I'm going to ask her not to. Recommend she doesn't.
So I had a question in my head whenever this happened. So we told her to stop, and then we interrogated the guy, and he told us where they took the mother. And I'm thinking, well, if I goaded her to kill the dude, would we have got that information? Would we have got this quest?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But we got the information, and I think this is part of the loyalty quest here, trying to find the mother, because it kind of ends, and then you can talk to her, and she's like, "Please help me find my mom." And you can say, "Well, not right now," or "Okay, let's go do it." And so I went ahead and just said, "Okay, well," because I thought it was part of the quest. And so I went ahead and went and found her mom. Did you do this as well?
See, I didn't do this part. I think I said, let's do it later. And I've come back to Siora 3 times, and she said, well, you seem really busy. Why don't we do this when you've got more time? And I'm like, no, I'm making the time now, but I don't have the option to continue it. At the moment.
I don't know.
See, I went off. I struggled a little bit with one part of the battlefield where it's like, oh, I'm going to try to save the people who can be healed.
Right, yeah.
And I couldn't really tell where those people were. And I think I failed that because I got one less than the total number.
Oh. So that locked you out of that quest?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I in the process of doing that, I had wandered into some ruins, so I immediately went into the Search the Ruins quest. Because I'm like, I'm already on this battlefield. Seems like there's something interesting going on here.
Yeah, I did that too, and I found this mural.
Yeah.
That was describing what the ancestors did. So I don't know.
But and that ends up going pretty long. So one of the things that I also find interesting is that, the first main mission I haven't finished. The second mission maybe I did, but the third and the fourth are still open. So all of these main mission threads are all open at the moment.
Yeah. You see, so I went and found her mother, and then that quest just kind of ends afterwards. I don't obviously want to spoil anything, but um, afterwards it was like, because you go back to the tribe and they were talking, saying basically, oh, well, you got to get prepared for this, and they're like, okay, and then it just ends, and I'm like, all right, so can I continue this? Maybe it happens later on. And after that, I was just like, okay, well, I guess go to these two places that I was originally supposed to go to. So I chose to go to one of them, and that's where I ran into the crazy pilgrim.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I stopped. I did do the one quest where the guards of New Serene were kind of hassling the merchants there.
I was going to say I did that one as well. Before I did any of the rest of this stuff outside the city, I kind of cleaned this up, because this one is actually, I think, a carryover from Serene itself.
Yes, it is.
Where you had to go find the coin guard in the New Serene.
Yeah.
So I can. The first thing I did when I arrived on the shores was to finish that off.
Yeah, I did that too, but apparently it's still ongoing as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I can't remember what the guy's name was. Egon, like the guy who's running this underground racket.
Yeah.
The guy I stopped wasn't Egon. He's still out there somewhere, and it kind of played it off as like he's still out there. We're gonna have to find him eventually.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll explore this later. But yeah,
I should have just slept for the 48 hours or something, because I just set it down and waited for the game to progress 48 hours.
Oh, good God. That took a while.
Yeah. I think it seemed like it was pretty close to a minute per hour.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, so it felt like an hour was ticking by. I don't know. I would have guessed it was a good 40 minutes or so for it to go the 48 hours.
Well, that's one way to do it, I guess. I just went back to my house and slept.
That's what I should have done.
Yep. But yeah, I've got Kurt, Vasco, Ciora in my party. You've met a new character.
Yeah, Petrus.
Where did you meet Petrus?
Petrus is in one of the later villages. I think you get him at the beginning of the 4th mission.
Okay.
Old Countries in a New World.
So, was this like where the pilgrim guy was, or was it the other location?
I think it was the other one.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't went there yet. I just chose one and went to the one that, crazy pilgrim dude is killing heretics.
Yeah, I hadn't even zoomed out enough, because I've had a couple of weird things that I struggled with. There's the one part where you can see the overworld map.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent more time than I should have trying to figure out how I zoom in to get to the city level.
Yep.
I didn't realize it was just a different tab, because I feel like usually that's one tab and it's zoom in or zoom out.
That's me.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And at some point I just figured it out. I'm like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that happened with me. I was just like, oh, well.
But also on the overworld map, I wasn't totally sure how to get where I was going, because there are so many kind of quests that I have active and tracked versus non-tracked, and I didn't realize that the place I was looking for was really far away on that map, and I had to scroll over to be able to select the location that I wanted to travel to. So when I had those two options to look at, I couldn't find one of them for a little while.
Yeah, it's clear across the map.
Yeah.
I feel like I started a big main story mission by going to this area, but everything's open. Everything is wide open, so I guess we can do it however we want.
Yeah, I did get into one set of fights where every enemy had a red skull over them,
Yeah,
and I got the sense that that meant, hey, this is probably too hard for your level.
yeah, that happened with me. I ran into some enemies that were like, best way I can describe it is like a roly poly. They roll up in a ball
Yeah,
and roll at you,
yeah, that's
and I was
annoying.
like, oh my gosh, these guys are a nightmare to fight.
Those are perfect ones to parry, though.
Yeah, see, I haven't done the parry. I kept dodging out of the way and shooting them, which was the only way I could really do damage to them.
Yeah, that second boss, though. So you mentioned the first boss you died like 6 times at. I died, I
Hmm.
think, only twice, but I felt like I was in control of it. But that second boss took ages, and I probably died 6 or 7 times on the second one. And I was like, you know what? This is my last try. If I don't get it this time, I'm going to give up and go somewhere else in the game. And I did finally get it, which felt good because it wasn't like, in like a Souls game, the first time I play that, I'm like, wow, I don't even know how to hit the guy. I can't do any damage to him. This guy, it was just a battle of attrition, if you will. Like I was getting him down to a third or so every time, and I just wasn't quite good enough at dodging or parrying to stay alive long enough to take him out. But again, that was a battle where parry was critical, and basically once I beat him, I'm like, oh, I feel like I can go quite a few different areas in this game. I guess maybe we'll save some of those for the next recording. But there was a couple of sections of maybe it was the roly poly guys, but I think they were more bear like. But there was one part that was pretty tough.
Yeah,
But there's a
but
lot of a lot of wild animals that come at you.
it tear you to shreds. Yeah, but yeah, that's where I pretty much stopped. I guess I'll do the pilgrim stuff, but
Yeah, the background of that. Did you? It was just a person. Yeah, never mind. I won't say it because I think that's coming up in the next section. But
okay,
I liked it. I'm getting a much better hang of the travel as well. Generally, using the maps, but also finding the campsites, and I've got like a home in each of the major cities. So I'm starting to be able to orient myself in the cities and traverse the cities better. So there's a lot I like about this game, but it was a little overwhelming to get started. I feel like it's the kind of game where if I accidentally put it down for 3 weeks or so, I wouldn't have any idea what I was doing when I came back to it.
yes,
And even the first couple of moments in the game, I was like, whoa, this is a world that I need to understand to appreciate. Like, there's a
yes,
lot going on. There's a lot of names, a lot of factions, a lot of relationships, a lot of things I might or might not know, like the reason behind the magic and all the things. So I'm like, this feels like the kind of game where to get a lot out of it, you need to put a lot into it.
yes. That's exactly how I feel. It feels a little bit like a Dragon Age kind of game. It's just missing the extra stuff is what I'll put. Like, like how does magic work in this world? Maybe they'll explain it. I don't know. But
Yeah,
Dragon Age, I can tell you exactly how magic works because they explain it. They ease you into it, kind of thing.
yeah,
This game kind of just this is the world, and this is how stuff works.
yeah. Even navigating the city, the first time I had to go across the city, I'm like, I don't. This isn't a bunch of straight corridors. Like, there's a lot of navigating you need to do to get through the cities, which kind of makes it feel a little bit more organic to me. There's a
Yeah,
lot of parts where you're going under a section or over a section or climbing a fence to get to the next section.
yeah, yeah. This is probably their biggest world Spiders has made.
Yeah,
I I'm impressed. They've kind of grown into this game development uh, business. So I mean I'm enjoying the game so far. I really am.
Yeah.
I
I
think,
mean, for me, that moment of leaving Serene and, getting to know Vasco, all the things around finding the missing cabin boy and the way that impacted the world, for me, that was the best moment so far in this game because I'm like, oh, they're really, like, it just seems like good writing to me. That you're doing world building, you're doing character building, you're forging this bond with your companion all at the same time and all almost, I don't want to say accidentally, but it wasn't the goal of the mission, and it just all that stuff came along like as extra baggage with the mission, and that's the kind of thing I've really really liked so far about this game.
yeah, everything feels like it's on purpose.
Yep.
We do have an email. Let me bring it up here. Comes in from Chad. It's a long time listener. First time hearing from him in a long time. He did reach out to me and told me he's like I'm gonna send you an email. He's like I'm still listening. He's just been real busy lately. So
Yeah.
but it's titled Greeedfall, a unique diplomat simulator with flaws and charm. Howdy, gents. It's been a while since I've written in, but rest assured, I'm always listening. I've just been very busy. Congratulations to Drew again, and good luck to you as you embark on this new chapter of your life. Thank you very much. This is my third playthrough of Greeedfall, but on the upgraded PS5 version this time. I can't help but acknowledge the game's imperfections, including what some people call Spider's jank. Quirky graphics with subpar HDR and gameplay that falls short of being engaging. This can basically describe any Spiders game. Despite criticism and anecdotes of people losing interest in the story, I've found a unique way to enjoy the game. Rather than approaching it as a typical open-world RPG, I treat it as a diplomat simulator. My focus is not on mindless combat, but on making thoughtful decisions to manage diplomatic relations on behalf of de Sardet's cousin as the newly appointed governor of Tirfadé. While the game's narrative doesn't offer extensively branching options, it does provide interesting variations in completing objectives. Let's face it, it is no Alpha Protocol. However, the flexibility to use disguises, stealth, lockpicking, alchemy, dialogue, repairing items, brute strength, or a combination of these options adds depth to each playthrough. For this playthrough, I've opted for a pure mage build, which is very different from how I usually play. Although magic may initially seem mundane, it introduces a refreshing element to the game, at least for my third playthrough. Despite initially generic party members, the loyalty missions about halfway through the game add depth to their character. They are also some of the most interesting loyalty missions I've played in the past 5 years. The lore in this game can be very interesting at times, such as customs surrounding Vasco and the Knots, for example. I also like how your teammates have their own specialties that you can capitalize on. If I know an objective requires high alchemy or building skill that I lack, I can counterbalance that by bringing a party member along with me that does have that skill. Arguably, the standout feature of Greeedfall is its music. It is another fantastic score by French composer Olivier de Verrerie. This dude's music is phenomenal. I remember listening to the main theme of this game over and over when it first released. The French horns and dramatic swells. I'm honestly not sure if I would like this game as much as I do if Olivier wasn't the composer. His music really brings these games to life. Now, How about some questions? Oh man, we're getting questions. So, what does the Malachor Plague actually do? How do you get it? No idea.
Yeah, good questions.
Number 2, what is that smudge on de Sardet's face? A birthmark? Is that why the natives in Tirfadé keep saying he looks like one of them? Good question. The opening says Tirfidi is a newly discovered island and does not have the plague on it, which is what prompts Serene and the factions to start exploring there. Why do you think this island is different? Is it because it's remote or something else?
Mystical
4.
protection.
Yeah, I think those mystical creatures have something to do with it. 4. Out of the different factions, i.e., Congregation of Merchants, Naughts, Coin Guard, Thelim, I don't know how you pronounce that, Bridge Alliance, and Natives, do any of them seem wholly good or bad? If good or neutral, do you suspect any of them of being malicious? Well, I can say that the Thalim dudes don't seem very good.
I think they call it Teleme,
Teleme?
which I thought was a weird emphasis, but I think that's the way they said it in the game.
The I don't know, those religious people just seem like just mean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that at least, I forget who it was, but someone else in the game condemned him. Like, oh, he's a bit of a fanatic.
Yeah. I don't like them. The rest of the guys, I don't know. The Coin Guard obviously has some bad apples in it because they got some shakedown going on.
Yeah.
The merchants, I haven't really ran into any bad merchants yet.
I guess our group is the merchants, and I would have said both of the people that we had to go talk to before we left Serene were a little bit oppressive.
Well, maybe all of them are bad. I don't know. Number 5, speaking of malicious, if you had to pick one of your companions to betray the party, who would it be? Kurt, Ciora, Vasco, Alfra, or Petrus? I haven't met Alfra or Petrus yet. I'll let you know. I don't think Kurt or Ciora will betray us.
So far, I'd say Petrus, because it's a little weird when you meet him. He says, oh yeah, I've known you since you were a child. He's like, I saw you or watched you when you were a child. So I feel like he's in some way trying to worm a bit closer than maybe he's earned. Which makes me think maybe he would betray us.
Okay.
But I haven't spent much time with him yet, so I don't really know that much about him.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I could see Ciora betraying us to go with her tribe.
Yeah, I don't think she'd do it underhandedly, though. I think she'd do it loudly.
Yeah. I'm not standing for this. Goodbye.
Yeah, she'd stab you in the front, not the back.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But
so what do you think about the sickness, though?
The sickness? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think as far as the island goes, with these creatures that we've never seen, there's obviously some kind of mysticism going on. Maybe it's a curse that the islanders have put on us.
Yeah, or like that's where life started or something, and the farther away from it you get, the more susceptible you get.
Possibly.
Almost as a punishment for advancing technology.
I think that the creatures are the key to it, though. These, like, hybrid wood nature creatures may hold a key to a cure. And I think some of the people realize that because, you know, they're taking them captive and trying to do experiments on them.
Yeah,
that's what the first boss was, right? They were trying to they captured it and was bringing it to be studied.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I don't know. It's a good question. I need to get deeper into this game. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of it. So, I can't really answer those questions yet.
Yeah, we'll be in the thick of it after the next recording.
Yeah. But thank you for that email, Chad. It's good to hear from you. And keep those emails coming. And if you would like to send an email, it is drew@ztgd.com. You can also tweet to us. I am at DML Fury, Matt is at REMGS, and the podcast itself is at ZTGD Phoenix Down. But that's that's going to be it. I'm excited to get back into it. I got a little sidetracked this week. Full disclosure. Aside from work and stuff like that, but the new season of Diablo came out, and I started doing that a little bit, and I kind of got back into it, but I need to play some more of this game, and I will throughout the week. So, but yeah, that's it. Until next time, I am Drew.
And I'm Matt.
And we are out of here. You guys have a great week, and we'll be back next week with the continuation of Greeedfall.